Man, it's one of those days where you come home, you've had a long day at work, and you know you forgot something, but you're not sure what. And it's too late. It's too late. You don't have a card, you don't have any flowers, and it's like, honey, happy anniversary. What? Wait, what? Yeah, it's our 2000th show, and you forgot.
Yes, we did.
That is so Sports Day Tampa Bay for me and you. Like we're the tireless, we do it for you freaking people, and we forgot that this is our 2000th show. So what we'll have to do.
Actually, we didn't forget that this is our 2000
show.
show.
It was yesterday's.
Yesterday was our 2000 show.
Right. Well, what happened was we remembered after we forgot. So I hope you enjoyed the anniversary show.
Some good discussion on Bucs minicamp and the Rays lost in Boston. I mean,
quality program that you're used to without all the frills of patting myself on the back, which I think you get too much around this town. But look, some people celebrate any anniversary they've ever had, and it seems like they have one every 3 weeks. But
hey, it's our 38th show. Let's celebrate.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 5 years to the day that I did my 100th show. Yeah, it's just, but I think really that is perfect for us because we talked about, hey, we should get Tom Jones and maybe I'll get Frank Caliendo, instead, congratulations on 2,000 more shows, hopefully 2,000 more, and then I'll tell you what, man, could have had 2,000 shows. Who does 2,000 shows? I've opened 2,000 boxes.
I was going to say, I think he's trying to get to 2,000 boxes.
Yeah, he's there. He's there, man. The North Carolina Panthers. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. Nobody wants to see us pat ourselves on the back. It's no big deal. But it is a big deal. It's a lot of shows. I'll give you that. So...
Yeah, but it isn't a big deal because we expected to be here. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean,
when you're the best show in Tampa Bay, the number one sports podcast in Florida,
in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Expect to reach those milestones.
Yeah, and then maybe when we get to 4,000 or 5,000, we'll do something. But for now, we're just going to bring you quality program that you're used to instead of patting ourselves on the back. But you can send money. You can send your cards and letters at Sports Day TB. At NFL Stroud. Be happy to accept them on behalf of Steve Versnick. So, onward. We had Buccaneers mini camp, second day. Today will be day trois. It's gonna be a quick one. I think there'll be jailbreak after about an hour. And this is man, this is the last day of school. This is when all those guys have their suitcase packed, they're headed to the airport and off to fabulous vacations around the world. And we do have a lot of world travelers on this team. Like I did a story last year where like Jordan Whitehead, who's no longer on the team, and Antoine Winfield Jr., like those guys would go to like Fashion Week in Paris and stuff like that. It's just weird. They're all into it, but a lot of guys travel. Many of them, this is their time with their families. I mean, the next time they come back, man, we're all in, and when I say we, I'm embedded with the troops, so to speak, while they try to take the hill. But, it is kind of a, and we talked about this a little bit, like, even though the season starts this year about September 8th or so, training camp last few days of July, really this goes back to last July because you go through the whole season and then there's, whenever they stop playing in the postseason, a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, you're at the combine, and then it's free agency, and then it's the draft, and then it's mini camp for the rookies, and then it's OTAs, and now we're at mandatory mini camp, and then that's really this really ends the circle that began in August or July of 2024. So it's been a long haul, and a lot of podcasts, I might add. But yeah, we're done. So we'll be back out there. I'll be back out there today for the final. We did have a chance to talk to some players on Wednesday, and the first of which was interesting. Look, I really like this guy in terms of sort of what his thoughts are and how thoughtful he is when he does speak, and that's Hassan Reddick. And it was great because we have not talked to him since he signed with the Bucs because he hasn't been at OTAs. He was here for phase 2 of the offseason program, which was many, many weeks ago. I posted the video of him working out with his trainer up in Philadelphia. And so, he showed up. He was in tremendous shape. You can tell that. He's quick. Look, they're not in pads. It's kind of unfair to offensive or defensive linemen right now, but you can still see a guy that's going to bring a lot to the team. And he got up there on Tuesday or Wednesday, and he just said, "Hey, I'm going to address this before you all do." Like, oh, okay. He goes, "I know everybody was concerned about me not showing up at OTAs, but for me, I definitely made sure to stay in shape, and I think I showed that to everybody out there. And I don't think it should have been a question, but I just had some things to button up as I get ready to make this transition down here, so that way, once I get here, I don't have to worry about anything back there at home." So, again, um, I think the longer a player is in the NFL, the less likely they are to come to these things if they're established like Reddick is. I mean, they're paying him $14 million. They're guaranteeing him, I think, like 12 or 10, something like that. He's going to make the football team. He's not in danger of losing his job. Would it have been nice to see him around more, maybe immerse himself a little bit more in the defense? Absolutely. But he is moving, from Philly, where he's been living. He was traded to New York last year, and so it makes sense. Tampa Bay's a new area for him. Got some things, likely, I don't know, maybe even kids in school, whatnot. So, these guys are human beings too. But you don't make it through this many seasons in the NFL. And before he got traded to the Jets, the 4 seasons prior to that, he had 50.5 sacks. So he was one of the elite pass rushers in this league. You don't get to that level without taking care of your body, without knowing how to be ready for the season. And we're still several months, from them playing any kind of football that matters. So, you know what? I don't know. Believe me, if I was a player, and I wish this maybe the case as a sports writer, but there's no need really to go out there. I don't think and beat yourself up, even on grass, even in shorts, push on another man for 3-4 days a week in the middle of summer. It's just the season's too long, man. It's 17 games and a bye week and postseason if you're any good, and you're going to play upwards of 20, 21 games if you win the Super Bowl. Like, believe me, there's plenty of time for all that you have to learn. But I think Reddick addressing it straight up like that. I kind of like that. I kind of liked him just saying, "Hey, I know what the elephant in the room is, and I'm gonna hit it head on." You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that. I still wish he would have been at the voluntary activities, even if you didn't participate. Like, there's veterans that'll be there and they don't necessarily participate. They're not on the field.
Yeah, Levante comes out, and
right. But as part of being new to the team, like once you're an established vet, if Mike Evans doesn't show up to it, do I worry about it? No.
Yeah. And he does, by the way, but not every day.
He does.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he's not there, like, you don't worry about it. Like,
no.
But when you're new to the team and he's such an essential part. I mean, they drafted
the biggest
Bucca
addition
first,
they have. Yeah.
Then they added cornerbacks when edge rusher was probably their biggest need, and they did not add in the draft really at a high value pick.
No.
And so they're really counting on him. So you'd prefer him to be there. Now, he's a veteran. Were you really worried he wouldn't be out of shape? If they're in contact with them and Larry Foote has worked with them previously in that, and you're not worried, fine. Like, you don't have to show up. You're not mad about it. You don't, no need to get upset about it. But just as a teammate part, you like to. But if he's handling his stuff, they knew that, he's communicated that. Okay, no problem. And I like the fact he addressed it right away. Like,
yeah, he hit it head on. We didn't have to ask. He goes, "Let's just talk about it. I'll address it right now." And I also think that had they not signed Randy Gregory a year ago, and that became such a debacle where he never showed up, and they fined him until they essentially got his salary back. I think that's part of it too. But
No question.
there was never a chance that Hassan Reddick was just going to bail. I don't think. I mean, he has this
Well,
redemptive spirit. Like he wants to
right.
prove that last year was the outlier. That he thought when he got traded to the Jets that he would get a new deal. He didn't. He did all a player can do, which withhold your services. And then it cost him. It cost him because he wasn't there in the offseason. He didn't have a preseason, and he just had to
Yep.
jump in. And he had like one sack or something like that. So it was a humbling type deal. He didn't play good football, but now you can see that he is, as Larry Foote said, he's kind of pissed off. Like he has a chip on his shoulder, and we like that. Like we love
Oh, no
that
question.
he's coming in here, man, and he wants to show that he still is, one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL. And that's what you want. You want guys that are hungry. It was funny. Ira Kaufman, I think it was Ira. I'm going to say it is because I can imitate him. But I think Ira Kaufman said, "Hey, you got to improve your reputation as one of the premier pass rushers." And he goes, "Regain my reputation as a premier pass rusher? Regain my rep, huh?" Kind of like, "Oh, you don't think I am?" And he was like, let's just say that I am motivated, but not for that type of stuff, right? Like, I don't care what people think about me, to be honest. People can say whatever they want. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. He says, but when you talk about things like that, as long as I'm in a great place, in a safe space, and my mental is strong, I love when they say my mental is strong. He goes, that's the only thing that I'm worried about.
He's got his
So
paper and his mentals.
he's got his papers and his mentals. Yeah, that goes back to beast mode, man. You got to take care of your papers and your mentals. So yeah, he's taking care of both, and he did mention, it's interesting because they're playing every team he has played for in his career. The Bucs are playing the Cardinals where he started. They're playing the Panthers, and then the Eagles. They're playing the Eagles, and of course the Jets. So he said, "I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a part of my decision making." But he really just looking for a good team to be with, and he likes the vibe down here. I mean, look, when you come into this locker room, and I there's been Buck teams that weren't like this, trust me. But when you get here and there's continuity in the front office, and there's been continuity now with the coaching staff with Todd Bowles going in his fourth year, and they have won consistently, really going back to Brady in this latest manifestation. Um, you come into a place like this, and the vibe is just good. They don't. They've done a nice job of drafting, really good players, but then also really good people. And there's not a lot of selfish dudes on this team. Everybody wants to be great. That's how you get here, right? You're driven to be the best, but they're also cognizant of the fact that it's about winning here. There's no BS. There's not a ton of agendas, certainly within the coaching staff and other things. So, I think it's refreshing to a point because if you've been with bad organizations, and this used to be one, so I know what it's like. When you're in a bad organization, no one is good. Like the locker room is sour. You have factions. You have guys in the front office have agendas. Coaches are trying to hang on to survive. Everybody's on edge. It's just the nature of the business. And yet, in Tampa, they've had the continuity. They made the sort of the handoff between Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles, and there were some bumpy times for him. But I think the Glazers love him. I know him and Jason work really well together. Jason's been here. This is going on his 12th season, I believe. He's one of the longer tenured GMs in the league. And, all that matters for a player who's kind of, been through some tough times. And so they get here and they're like, wow, like everybody's really kind of into winning, and it's refreshing. And so I think that's what Reddick's kind of experiencing. He hadn't been around these guys that much, but he will. And the one thing I also like about it is that both Todd Bowles and some of the players, because we talked to Chris Braswell, said even though he's been here 2 days, he is over there coaching. He's over there helping the young guys. He's showing them hand placement and different things. I thought it was interesting when we talked to Braswell yesterday. He was saying how he found out Reddick showed him on tape, and it kind of taught him. He said, listen, he goes, you want to attack, the quarterback or the offensive lineman that's trying to block you as if you're in a phone booth. And I thought that was an interesting way to say it. Like you're trying to fight your way out of a phone booth, because some guys, they're constantly trying to get away, and you got to use your hands to get off tackles and off blocks and things like that. But what his point was, stay right engaged with the guy as if, you're in a phone booth, and stay connected, for as long as you can, before you get out of it. Because if you think about it, if you go too wide, if you dive inside, like, you're taking yourself out of the play. So you've already got the path to the quarterback. You have to kind of hand fight the guy, and stay connected with him right up until the time that you're going to, get pressure, as long as you're pushing him upfield and make the tackle. And I thought that was an interesting way to think about it. I hadn't thought about it that way. But he's giving little tips like that, and the guys are already, like, Braswell's already benefiting from it. And I think overall, Reddick, if he returns to what he was, and it was only a couple years ago, not on the right side of 30, but if he gets back to anything close to that, he's going to make a big improvement for them. And, we asked him about his goals, and he's like, yeah, I don't really set numbers or anything like that. He goes, well, I I want double digits. I can tell you that. And when you think about it, like, they haven't had a double digit sack guy now in quite some time. Really, it's been a long time. And Yaya Diaby led him with 7.5 one year, and then I think, I could be wrong about this. I have to look it up, but I, I think you might have to go back to one of the Shaq Barrett years, when he had at least 10, and that's been quite some time. So, they've got a chance, to be much better up front. And I tell you, the guys that are standing out and continue to stand out are the defensive backs, who continuously make plays on the ball, out there on the practice field. It just seems like every day somebody's getting their hand on the football. We even saw Jamel Dean got an interception, which is a rarity, and he and he went to the end zone, and he was gassed, and he kind of stood around. Bulls, of course, made fun of him and said, "Yeah, he stood around the end zone too long, couldn't get back in the huddle, so he took himself out of the play." But you know, um, it, it's uh, it's sort of rounding into shape, and the final day will be short, and they'll celebrate. It'll either be they either have like a 300-pound guy catch a punt, right? And if you catch this punt, we're going to let everybody go home early, right? Or it'll be like that somebody has to make a field goal. And if you make this field goal, we'll go home early. And so I expect it to be a pretty quick day, and then that's it, man. The next time we see these guys, it's on. You're really preparing for the Atlanta Falcons. Like, it's not. You better have your playbook down. You better be ready to go. They're not going to wait for rookies. They're not going to wait for guys that are new here. You better know what you're doing, because they're gonna be preparing to play the season. So I'm excited in the sense that I'm ready for football. First of all, I'm ready for it to not be 110 degrees. That would be good. But I'm ready for football, and I'm ready to see what these guys are going to be. I think here's what I think, as Peter King would say. I think the Bucs know that they're a really good team, and that they have a chance to go deep into the playoffs. And I do. They got to get there, but to them, when you've been there 5 straight years, when you won 4 division titles, you don't take it for granted, for sure. But you also know that that's not really the goal. Like, maybe that was satisfying 2 years ago when they won a playoff game and they got to Detroit and came close there. And last year was a big disappointment with Washington, a Commanders team I still think they were better than, but did not beat. But this year, it's going to be disappointing if they don't, A, win the division, or B, get into the postseason and go deeper than maybe one win or one wild card. They see themselves as Super Bowl contenders, and I really think they should see it that way. Now, you don't know what injuries are going to do, but I'm just telling you, they got some really good players, and the draft was good, and Emeka Buka looks great, and so on and so forth. All the things we've talked about. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be. I think this is going to be an interesting year for the Bucs.
Look, Todd Bowles opened camp last year, telling the team that Super Bowl was the goal.
Yeah.
Well, everything leads you to believe this team should be better than last year's team.
Absolutely.
Which means Super Bowl has to be the goal for this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if they make it to the NFC Championship game and don't make it to the Super Bowl, is the season a failure?
No, it's another step. It's another big step.
Right. But if they win the division and lose in the first round again,
yes, failure.
They'll view that as very disappointing.
I think so. Very disappointing. I think they will. What's interesting about the Bucs, unlike a lot of teams, because they came through the Brady years and they had the $80 million over the salary cap, and it looked like a huge climb. And that's the hardest thing to do in the NFL when you're a champion and you've got guys you lose. I mean, look at, even teams that don't make it all the way. I mean, Detroit's lost both coordinators. Of course, these guys lose an offensive coordinator every year because of their success. But most of the time, it's players, right? Most of the time, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs or, whoever, you can't afford everybody because, your players come up for free agency. You want to keep as many as you can, but they cost more money, usually the quarterback. And Mayfield still has one of the best deals in the league at quarterback. I think he's 19th in salary, and yet he's ranked in the top 10 by Pro Football Talk in terms of quarterback rankings. And so, you've got the second youngest team. So many of these guys have a while before they become free agents. They still have a few guys to lock up, like Zion, McCallum, and Gedeke and with such. But for the most part, your core is here. Your offensive line, all 5 guys are here. Your defense, you've kind of added to improve the soft spots at corner and linebacker. You're just you're a whole team. You're a better team, and you're going to be that way. You're going to be that way for another couple of years. Baker Mayfield just turned 30. I think it's reasonable to think that quarterbacks, can be effective. Now, the way Baker runs around, maybe less so, but I think quarterbacks can be effective well into their 30s now, and so you're looking at a possible another contract with him down the line. So this is, while the window is open, and it won't always be, but I don't think it's a 1-year thing or a 2-year thing. I think they're going to be in a good position for a number of years to try to make a run at this. But if, from where I sit, which is having been here for many of the 50 years as they get their 50th anniversary, this is one of the better football teams. Again, on paper, right? I think it's the best receiving core they've ever had from a depth standpoint. You've got a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, Godwin's coming off an injury. He's still the second best receiver in franchise history. You drafted a guy in first round who I think is going to be a tremendous rookie. McMillan certainly had a big finish to last year. So if you look at the depth, you look at the explosiveness of those 4 guys, you got 2 running backs, really 3 that are very serviceable, deep at running back. They've all played. One guy rushed for 1,000 yards. I mean, there's really not a ton of holes. You can say, well, tight end, Otten can do some stuff. It's not real deep position. So if you got an injury there, maybe you're not that solid. But like for the most part, they're well covered at all those positions, and these guys are coming back from last year and have continuity. So, listen, we'll see what they become, and that's the great thing about the NFL. And Bill Parcells says it all the time. You don't have to say what you're going to be. Your record, if you're in this league long enough, it'll tell you who you are. It'll tell you if Todd Bowles can get them over the hump. It'll tell you if Baker Mayfield is a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. Like those are all unknown still. But as you play long enough, the league will tell you who you are. But I think they're in a really good position. I think it's a good football team. We'll see if they can stay healthy. But it's been a good off season, and you just have to have some guys produce, and it kind of starts with Reddick. Really, he's one of those guys that has to step up and make Yaya better and make Cansey better, and hope you don't have injuries to start the season with those guys like you've had the last few years. That's all part of it. So we'll see how they do. But last day of minicamp, and then it's a summer break, and then we can really celebrate our 2000th show, because that's what we need to do. Hey, one thing you guys can do if you want to celebrate our 2000th show is go buy us a present. Go down to Breitling Boutique. I could use a watch. I would love to have one of those beautiful Swiss watches, the great timepiece, the Navitimer, maybe a Chronomat watch that I could wear around. Get the fans of Sports Day Tampa Bay together, raise a little money, go down to the Breitling Boutique, go upstairs. It's in the center of the mall. Great store, tremendous customer service. You're going to go in there, you're going to spend some time, and this is a store you want to spend some time in. They're going to fix you a drink, an adult beverage perhaps, tell you about their products, tell you about the fact that they are, putting together or celebrating, I should say, the NFL's 104th year anniversary with the 32 teams and 32 team watches while supplies last. And that's big because these things are gorgeous. They're the beautiful Chronomat watches. Each one, depending on the team, has the team colors, and the face of the watch has the logo. Go to tampabay.com. You're going to likely to see the Buccaneers watch. Again, there's a limited supply of these, so make sure you get down there soon and ask for them. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Also watches for your wife, for your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They're beautiful. They're durable, and she can choose from an array of beautiful wristbands for that watch. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day, Tampa Bay. Well, the Rays lost the series. It's been a while since that's happened. They got defeated again in Boston, and kind of a blah road trip so far. It's I guess they're 1-2, but haven't really played inspiring baseball the last couple of nights.
Well, the weather was kind of blah as well. Maybe that was part of it. It's the first time they've lost a series since they lost 2 of 3 in Miami to the Marlins in mid-May.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's been a while. So, but now they got a day off today. They'll be face the Mets this weekend. They gave up too many home runs Wednesday. What was it, 4 solo shots?
4 solo shots. Zach Littell, that's his thing. His thing is, he's not overpowering, and he gives up a lot of home runs. They were fortunate they were all solo shots, but that's all they needed was those 4 runs to beat them. They battled back. They were down 3-1. They battled back. Yandy Diaz hit a 2-run bomb. It's 3-3, and then the next inning, bam, you give up another solo shot. And a couple of them were sort of wrapped around the pesky pole. They were kind of the cheap, Fenway Park, Wicked Fa home runs. But be that as it may, you just got to keep the ball in the yard. You got to keep the ball in the yard. You have a chance. And Littell has been victimized about that for a little bit. But look, overall, still playing really good baseball. Where they go next? Are they going to New York to play the Mets? Is that right?
That's correct. Yep, the Mets this weekend. Then next week they get the Orioles at home for a 4-game series starting on Monday.
And they've been awful. They've been struggling all year. So
they've been better of late. I mean,
late they have. Yeah, they fired their manager and they actually started playing better, which is weird. Because I didn't think it was his fault.
Yeah, the Pirates did the same thing. They've been playing better since they got rid of Derek Shelton.
Yeah, so you never know. Sometimes what happens is if you peel the layer of the onion, everybody realizes that they're next.
Yeah,
it's like, well, we got rid of the manager. Now they're going to come looking at me.
The Pirates are playing better, but they still can't win for Paul Skeens, who's just incredible.
I know, and he's one of the best young pitchers I've ever seen. I mean, he's just electric stuff, But yeah, there's baseball. It's going to happen. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to win every road trip. They got to find a way to get out of this funk a little bit and win some games against the Mets, and come home and use Steinbrenner to their advantage. But they're still playing overall. The last 25 games, they're still playing really good baseball.
Yeah, and the worst news for the Rays was off the field on Wednesday. Shane McClanahan's being shut down.
Yeah,
and got to see another doctor for the nerve issue.
Yeah, for a guy that's had 3 Tommy Johns now in his career,
I believe he's 2.
He's 2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so 2 Tommy Johns.
Rasmussen's had 3, but I think McClanahan's 2.
Yeah. It's weird. It's almost like, remember the super fans that used to be on Saturday Night Live?
Yep.
How many heart attacks is that for you? Ditka had 12 heart attacks. It's kind of like, how many ACLs is there? How many Tommy Johns is that for you? It's getting to feel that way. It's just like, man, like these guys and Shane, who is a local product, USF guy and all that, was throwing 98. Like, had a phenomenal spring training. And then all of a sudden this happens and you feel sick for the guy. I mean, this is his dream. This is what he's done. He's battled back from surgeries before. He's had to do all this. And then this nerve thing, you just get this feeling in the pit of your stomach. And I gotta be honest. I don't know. None of us know, like, what's going on, so we can't really give a very good diagnosis or prognosis about what are the chances he's going to be back and throwing 98 again. But it sure feels a lot like this is the end for him in the Rays. I just don't know if you're the Rays. What's his arbitration situation like? Do they need to?
I believe his third year of arbitration is next
Okay,
year. He's
so
making 3.6 this year.
yeah, which isn't that much, but before you go and pay this guy any kind of big money, and they kind of did this with Glass now, although he had battled back, from injuries, and now he's one of the many Dodger pitchers who are on the shelf. It just feels to me like you can't go much farther with this guy, can you? I mean,
Yeah,
and
so
it's
he's
not
an
his fault.
arbitration 3 next year. He's got arbitration 4 in 2027, unrestricted free agent 2028.
I mean, if you wanted to pay him, you could then try to trade him after you did that while he's still making $3 or $4 million. But
so my guess is looking at that, knowing he's not a free agent until 28, probably comes back next year. Arbitration wise, he's not going to get more than he's making now, so it'll be at the same 3.6 basically, because he hasn't pitched since he basically last signed a deal.
mm-hmm.
So he'll probably make 3.6, and hopefully he starts the year hot. And if the Rays don't play well, they could trade him at the midway point or trade him after next season. So he might be back next year.
He's got value, right? Like he's got value if you can get him back on the mound, and maybe it's worth the arbitration money just to see, what he can do and give him that chance to make it back. And if he does, then you can decide whether it's time to deal him or not. But man, I just feel bad for the kid because what a great spring he had, and he was going to be their ace, and just after all that he'd been through with the Tommy John, it's sickening.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing for the Rays too is, remember, they traded Jeffrey Springs in spring training, or before spring training,
right?
Because they had 7 starting pitchers coming to camp, so they traded Jeffrey Springs. You were expecting to have 6 and make a decision, but McClanahan got hurt early. You're like, okay, resting, not pitching innings early in the season, maybe that'll be a good thing for them. If a pitcher gets hurt, then we got McClanahan coming. Yeah. When it got pushed back a little bit, you're kind of like, well, that's kind of a trade deadline acquisition. Shane McClanahan will come, maybe early July, late July,
All-Star break,
almost like a trade deadline acquisition without having to give up anything.
That's right.
So you were kind of hoping, and the Rays have been very lucky. Their starting pitching has not been hurt this year.
Not only has it not been hurt, these guys are leading the major league in innings pitched. Mm-hmm. They've been going 5 and 6 innings routinely every time through the rotation
because they're pitching really well.
Yes, they're pitching extremely well, and knock on wood, up to this point. I guess I had a reliever go down the other day.
Manny Rodriguez on the IL now.
Yeah, he's on the IL, but knock on wood, they haven't lost a guy, and I think sort of the insurance was that, well, at some point McClanahan will come back, and if we do have someone to go down, we got this acquisition for us the second half of the season. Now that's gone. Yep. So you wait for the other shoe to drop and say, well, sooner or later one of these guys is not going to be as healthy, and then you're going to be in trouble. But
at that point, you're probably going to see Joe Boyle again.
Yeah, I was going to say they got some guys down in the minors that have come up, and Boyle, who throws 100 miles an hour, is the next guy, right? So their pitching's in really good order right now so far. I saw somebody put out there, and I'm not sure who it was. Maybe it was Mark Topkin. I'm not sure about that maybe Littell would be someone that other teams would be interested in trading for. But again, with McClanahan not coming back, that might change the calculus on that too. Unless you just wanted to make room for Boyle and say, we would deal him for draft picks or players, and then have a guy come up from Durham and fill his spot.
Right. But a lot of that trade speculation too was when the Rays were 4 or 5 games under 500.
That's true. That's true.
And so now, I mean, the Rays are still in a wild card spot. They're in wild card 3 right now.
Yeah.
So less likely to trade. Although the Rays have been known to make trades where they will give up someone off the big league roster and acquire someone else that will help, and kind of trade some of the current for the future. But the current actually works out as well too. So I mean, they're kind of one of the best in baseball at doing that. But some of that speculation with whether Littell or whoever, like now they're in a wild card spot. That was when they were 4 or 5 games out.
Right.
2-3
That's
weeks
true.
ago.
Yeah.
But we're also still, look, it's June 12th.
Yeah, you're going to have injuries. I mean,
Right.
they've had them every year, and every baseball team does. This is not unique to the Rays, although it seemed like it was epidemic there for a while. I also wonder, though, with these guys, and it's a credit to them that they're going this many innings, all the quality starts that they have, 5-6 innings a starter. But you do wonder, like, at what point will the innings start to pile up and maybe they'll feel that, like, because it's weird. And John Romano wrote about this in the Tampa Bay Times and on TampaBay.com. Almost through necessity, this is the franchise that invented the opener,
Yes,
right?
it is.
I mean, and so they were unconventional in that approach, and other teams copied them, and it was out of necessity. And now they have a bunch of guys that are just pitching so well that it doesn't make sense to take them out in the 5th inning or the 4th inning or the 3rd inning. Like, it's like, no, we can go 3 times through the lineup with these guys. That's how good they've been, and they're letting them go. But then as you get into August and September, and those innings are really piling up, you wonder if it's going to be a cumulative effect towards the end of the year that you pitched them that much early on. So it's,
I think if they get to that point and the Rays are worried about that, you might see them skip a start here and there.
Yeah,
and you strategically do it.
Yeah,
not every starter skipping a spot at the same time. Like,
yeah.
And you can bring up a Joe Boyle and get him a couple more starts, or some bullpen days, etc.
Right. But Shane Baz is going to max out his innings before long. You know what I mean? As far as he's going to reach personal heights here, because he just hasn't spent that much time in the big leagues.
Yeah, usually you don't like to have a pitcher go more than about 20% more than what the year before was. Or
is that what it is? Yeah.
Usually that's the kind of the formula that you don't want to exceed.
Yeah,
But some of that it can be more than 20% at times, depending on if last year was an injury year, but you've gone more in the before that. So it's not a hard fast rule.
Right. No, it's a good way of looking at it. Long way to go, man. That's the thing about baseball. It is such a marathon, and you got to be lucky with injuries. And like I said, I've always said it's like NASCAR. You just have to. It's a war of attrition, and I still think they have a good ball club. The bats have kind of quieted a little bit. They need to wake up some. But this is a long road trip, and they're only 3 games into it. We'll see what they come back and how they play the rest of the way. All right. We had a mailbag question. Should we keep that for tomorrow?
Yeah, go ahead and send mailbag questions in. We'll get those on the rest of the shows this week.
Yeah.
So at SportsDayTV on Twitter, at NFL Stroud, or rstroud at TampaBay.com.
That's it, man. You can get me that way. Send your presents to the Tampa Bay Times or to Steve Versnick's house for our anniversary that we didn't celebrate. We're happy to take gift cards. No, listen.
See, the good thing is we both forgot about it, so it's not like one of us is in trouble and the others,
I know. Is there anything worse? And I haven't had this happen. Stunningly, I'm the worst when it comes. First of all, I'm the worst when it comes to dates to begin with. But like, somebody will always have to remind me that I'm pretty good about birthdays, my kids' birthdays. Pretty good about my wife's
Probably because
birthday.
your wife reminds you constantly.
Well, yeah.
Your kids will remind you, too. Hey, it's 2 weeks till my birthday.
Oh, no. 2 weeks, 6 months. Yeah, no, they start planning way out. It's like, Dad, can we take my 5 girlfriends to the beach in the condo and spend like 3 days out there? It's like, wait. When are we doing this? Oh, your birthday weekend. Oh, okay. And it's not even a special birthday. But, so, you got plenty of reminders. My wife, our anniversary is May 19th, and thank God there's one of our good friends' kids, their daughter's birthday is on May 19th. So about May 16th, which is my birthday or so, somebody will say, Madison's birthday's just in a couple days on May 19th. I go, that's it. That's my anniversary right there. That's it. So if she ever moves away, I'm dead. But at least that's kept me in fairly good stead when it comes to trying to remember. I don't know. We're simple people. We don't really celebrate a lot of stuff for ourselves, like the kids and the birthdays, sure. Maybe a dinner, maybe a lunch, that sort of thing. But that's really about it, right? Like, I don't know. The big ones you should probably, if they have a 0 or a 5, maybe you splurge there.
Yep.
But for the most part, it's about the kids. The kids, Rick. The kids. For the kids. So, that's what we got. Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow, better than ever, for this 2001 podcast.
No, this is
Odyssey.
2001. Tomorrow, the next one will be 2002.
You're right. 2020 and 2002. 2002. Yep. That was a good year in Buccaneer history, though. 2000. I tell you what, man, I like 2002. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
That was a good year. Good year for the Buccaneer fans.
Yep. And then we're getting to 2004. That'll be the Lightning's good year. That'll be
I was right.
Monday.
Before you know it, it'll be Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate Tom Brady's arrival and all that.
Yeah.
50th year anniversary
this weekend.
Yeah, 50th anniversary book coming up with the Tampa Bay Times, and you can get those on sale and start pre-ordering those. I'll have to tell you how to do that.
And maybe we'll celebrate another championship this weekend with the Tampa Bay Sun.
The Tampa Bay Sun. There you go. USL Championship in the Women's League coming up on Saturday at Riverfront Park, where Blake High School is. You can, go to Amateur Works and take the little water taxi across. It's going to be a great night. Hopefully, it'll sell out there and see if Tampa Bay is reborn against Fort Lauderdale. So that's something to look forward to anyway. Got lots going on. As always, thanks for listening. Get your mailbag questions in. And make sure you go see our friends at Breitling Boutique. Seriously, they've been terrific sponsors of ours. And if you have an anniversary or any occasion at all, go get the best timepiece you've ever had at Breitling Boutique. Men's and women's watches. They're fantastic customer service. You're going to enjoy the store. It's in the center of the mall, International Plaza. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I am Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.